Hello, this is National Chess Master Rats. I'm logged in at ICC to analyze a gameplay between Slimedog2 and Minke. This was played in Team4545 League and was selected as Game of the Week. And it's a pretty interesting game. Let's have a look and see what we come up with. And there's a little special treat at the end of this game. This game was also analyzed by the guru that selected it, NFork, and I'm going to incorporate his notes onto the video too. So we'll first hear from my opinion, then we'll look at his, which I haven't really paid attention to. I want to give an unbiased report of the game, and then we'll compare it with his, and maybe we'll have some similarities, maybe we'll have some disagreements. We don't know. It's just what makes it for your benefit. You get to see two different players' take on a game, and maybe between the two we can get to the truth. Okay, so looks kind of like a Dutch defense now, transposed. And I'm not sure where theory ends, but both sides are doing what they need to do, developing their pieces. And the game suddenly takes on a strange flavor. I mean, by strange flavor, I mean what's going to happen over the next several moves is there's going to be a couple pieces exchanged. Black's going to sacrifice a pawn, but Black's going to have plenty of activity. And White has to just sit there and kind of roll with the punches, so to speak, for a little bit. And then finally what's going to happen is White's going to force a draw by a perpetual check. So, in effect, this game, in a way, is almost over quickly. Now let's look at the times spent. Right now, Slimedog has gained some time on his clock, so he's playing with the increment, and Minke has consumed 5 minutes plus his increment. So Black is taking a little more time on this. This should be kind of interesting as we go through here. But like I say, what's going to happen here is there's going to be a flurry of exchanges. A couple minor pieces are going to come out, and then it's not clear how White's to make progress. Meanwhile, Black has a little bit of an initiative, but not enough to win. So we'll discuss that when we get to that point. We want to talk about opening theory, planning for the middle game, and how that relates to this game, and it'll be apparent when I get there. Okay, White makes a choice to exchange, and then plays e4. Now this is more or less thematic, but Black has a counter here. Black plays f4, and the idea here is to try to attack White on the king side. Okay, so it seems to me this isn't the right move, but we're going to talk about that later, because this just more or less starts exposing the White king to some danger. It looks like perhaps this is a good idea because this is opening up this diagonal for the bishop on b2, but at the same time it could be opening up the diagonal for this bishop on g7. And what Black decides to do is make a pawn sacrifice here, and if White takes the pawn on e5, Black will be down a pawn, but Black has a lot of activity directed towards the White king. So that's his objective, and it's a good idea to sacrifice a pawn for this kind of activity. Perhaps we should see more people doing this. Now, how can White avoid sacrificing a pawn here? Well, one idea is to or accepting the sacrifice, one idea is to push the pawn to f5. What does that do? It clogs in this bishop, although the bishop will get out. It also tries to seal off the f file. Like, for instance, I mean, this is just a possibility. If Black takes, White considers letting him take on e4 so he can retake with the knight, then looks for some kind of redeployment. But it's kind of shaky in a way, kind of simply because this king side is opened up. This f4 square is awful inviting for Black. White doesn't have enough time to control the opposite square in the enemy camp. I don't know if this helps much at all. And like I say, we'll come back to this critical position in a little bit when we get through the game. Okay, but white chooses to accept the pawn sacrifice, and as I said, there's a couple of minor pieces exchanged really quick, and there they are. Black is down a pawn, but black has this very, very active knight on f4. The white pieces are not coordinated at all. This rook on a1 is not developed. This rook is developed, but it's not doing anything else except defending the king. This bishop's scope is virtually non-existent. You know, it's got f3. What's it do there? Nothing. It's got h1. What's it do there? Nothing. White can't even play a tactic and push e5 to discover on the queen because the bishop will fall with mate. So what's this knight doing here? It's three of its squares to the front are blocked by his own pawns. That leaves f3, and on f3 it may become a target. Black could take the bishop, undermining the defense of the pawn on f3, and you know, my goodness, I mean, first thing you have to look at, I'm not saying this is sound, but can black get away with that? And even if black can't get away with that, what else can black do? Well, maybe black can get away with that. You know, bishop h3. I don't know. Who wants to analyze this out? You know, it's not very appetizing if you're playing this game over the board with your clock ticking to try to find a defense. You know, the white king is caught in the center. Black's threatening to win the exchange back and start checking the white king. And bishop h3 may not even be the best move, although it doesn't seem like there's anything wrong with it. And even if if this doesn't work, bishop g4, even bishop h3 check, do it the other way. You know, bishop h3 check. I mean, who wants to analyze this stuff out? Not me. Okay, thank you. No. Looks to me like black has a tremendous game here. Wow, how was this available in the other lines? You know, threatening to check here, just threatening all kinds of discoveries. My goodness. So white doesn't have, what I'm saying is white doesn't have a lot here. Black has a lot of activity here. So white does one thing that he can do. He tries to get rid of evict that queen from that post on c6. He doesn't like it on that diagonal. The alternative would have been to try to develop a piece, maybe rook e1. It takes a possible knight check away. Maybe plan to get the rook up to the third rank. But black has compensation for the pawn he's sacrificed. And here black just says, well, you don't have to worry about playing b5. I'll just redeploy my queen anyway towards your king. And now white shuts in his bishop, takes that f3 square away from the knight. The knight does have b3, but it's going to take quite a while to coordinate anything here. Black's got some initiative. And at this point, black liquidates so that he can come down and give a check. And the king goes in the corner. And again, black's got some play for his pawn. And white's trying his best here. Threatens a pawn, but then that big deal, just g4. And white's kind of hogtied here. Possible maybe was rook g3. You can see both sides are taking their time trying to figure this out, but black still has an initiative. I mean, that's just a move for examination. And now, boom! Here comes a sacrifice. We're always afraid of something like this. Well, here it is. And I guess let's see. White doesn't accept. What happens if he takes? This is with check. And it looks like black's getting his material back. Although, let's see. queen g3. What's white going to do? Game looks kind of drawish if there's a queen exchange. Black has the outside pawn majority. Black has some interesting choices here. Rook d8 is probably better than rook e8. We want to get this open file, penetrate down to the 7th rank. This pawn is not a threat. Black looks better here. It's not really drawish. No wonder white doesn't want to go into this. Okay, so came there, declined the piece sacrifice, and now black's just, or the exchange sacrifice, black has just got his pawn back, and he's still the aggressor. But white's hanging on, swings his rook over. Now maybe is white planning to take down here, or just sending more critters over to defend the king? But then here comes another sacrifice. Black won't be denied, and now black is going to win back the exchange or quality sacrifice. So there's a little bit of checking and a little bit of maneuvering, and then white finds a drawing continuation and has a draw by repetition. Okay, black king has only one legal move, and white just starts checking him back and forth. And so look, they've taken their time here, and you know, a draw is not a bad result. The game starts out even. If you're black and you draw with black, particularly in a team tournament, you've done your job. What can I say? You know, it's an interesting game. So now the question, I wanted to go back. I wanted to address a few points. Any opening, if you play it well, should equalize. But then there's different degrees of equality. In this game, the equality was that black had an initiative that was good enough to hold a draw, and white was kind of stuck. In other words, once that pawn sacrifice came, a few pieces came off the board, and white never really had a chance to try for a win. So the whole question that begs us to answer is, does this variation draw for black? Well, who knows? Maybe it does. This particular variation does, but at what point do we make that decision? Let's go forward. We say that this variation draws for black. Already in the main line. Okay, there we go. At what variation? Okay. So let's get back one. So the question is, does this variation draw for black? And if it does, no matter what we dissect from this point on, if black is always going to have an initiative for that pawn, that means white's going to have to try something else at some point. Okay, because otherwise, black will, a game like this will hit the anthologies. Maybe some super grandmasters will play it, discuss it, play a similar game to this. They'll decide that black draws. We've got to find an improvement for white. Okay, so that's what I'm going to try to do, is just consider an improvement for white. One drawback in this position, I think, is taking on this square. Generally, it's better to let black take. What white should do is try to develop a piece. And I was playing with this a little bit. I was looking at rook d1 and rook e1, and both have some points to it. I got to sneeze here. Let me get this out of the way. Well, don't you hate it when you have to sneeze and you can't? Here it comes. Excuse me. Okay. Both have advantages and disadvantages to it. The main advantage of both moves is they get a piece into play. The problem with rook d1 is that it potentially runs into a pin here, and we want to maybe do something with this knight, but can't because it's pinned. The idea of rook e1, on the other hand, even though it's kind of hitting a dead square, is to clear f1 for the knight. We want to consider bringing this knight back to f1 and e3. If that black bishop gets there, which we don't know if it will, we can possibly chase it out and then maybe sink this knight into d5. This is a good outpost for let me get rid of these circles and arrows. d5 is a good outpost for for white here. As we discovered, this knight didn't have squares, and I'm trying to find some squares by keeping pieces on the board. So I just kind of played around a little bit and came up with this possible variation. And what's actually interesting when this knight goes back to f1 is that black can go ahead and give up this bishop for knight simply because he gets knight d4 in. And if white gives back the bishop pair, you know, this is not so much to his advantage. Black has this potential to get this outside or center pass pawn protected. It's a game, so to speak. It's still a fight here. So this maneuver didn't quite work in some of the lines I was looking at. Black seemed to have comfortable equality, and then the other move I was playing with, this is something for white and black to go back to the drawing board with and analyze. The other move I was looking at was rook to d1, trying to eyeball this outpost. But again, the drawback is sometimes this runs into a pin down here, and we can't do things with this knight that we might like to. Plus, we're stuck with this knight, and here I'll show you. Okay, takes. Now we can't bring the knight to f1 easily because where I'm protecting this knight, and this knight can't conveniently move because of the pin. We don't have a tempo like with knight h2, for instance. So we can run into similar motives. The knight goes back to b1 with the idea of going to c3 and d4. The moment it hits c3, black could then opt to take this knight with his bishop and then drop the knight into d4. So it seems to me that once black gets f4 in, there's a good chance he's equalized. I couldn't find much for white to do here, and that doesn't mean that white can't. How do grandmasters score points? Well, they analyze games to death. They take this position and they start digging and trying new ideas, and they've been doing this for 100 years and longer. They look at a position that somebody else played, and they try to find an improvement. And this is how you learn chess. You learn to analyze chess by analyzing variations like this. Don't break out the computer. Phooey. That'll won't do you any good. You know, just try lines that you think might work yourself, and let your human opponent show you what's right or wrong with it, and you'll start discovering the truth. So it seems that f4 probably equalizes. So maybe e4 is the fault here. And I was considering other moves, like maybe instead of e4 going to e3, but it has some drawbacks. One of them being that at some point black has some control over d3. Like for instance, in this variation, you know, bingo, that knight's a nuisance down there. Okay, and it seems that black is getting equality in these lines. Again, all the lines I looked at are kind of beyond the scope of the video. But what I determined was the best practical chance. Well, let's just go forward and I'll explain it. Since e4 didn't seem to work and e3 doesn't seem to work, and I fiddled with a few other ideas that didn't seem to work, apparently the culprit here that leads to equality is to take on e5. And I found a remedy. Okay, I'm not saying white wins or white gets anywhere, but it preserves, if anything, preserves the advantage of the first move. I believe through process of elimination, just by looking at some of those variations, the best move for white is to play d5 here. The reason for this is it takes away a lot of the options that this knight had that was annoying in so many of these lines I've just shown you. No longer can it get to e5 and threaten to go to d3. No longer can it get to d4, which was a bit of a nuisance. Now black can take his pick. He can put it on d8. He can put it on e7. Now white has a new luxury that he didn't have before, is to play the more positional e3. E3 tries to take the blunt out of a f4 push. Now black still can create some play here, The jury is not out by any means. The game still should probably be dynamically equal, but the objective, if you're white, you want to preserve the advantage of the first move. Therefore, you want to preserve some winning chances. And the way this all those other lines worked out, white really didn't have winning chances. Now, interesting move for black now is to play g5. If not now, with due preparation. This gets ready to play an f4, okay, at some point down the line. But white has, plenty of moves. It's to defend this position and hold off the black onslaught, because that's what black's going to try. He's going to try for f4, and who knows what would happen here. But just continue to develop the pieces in case this e file opens up. Maybe it would be good to get a rook to e1. You can see why that would be true. If particularly if this knight's going to f4, hitting f4. You're not putting it on g4. You're just controlling f4. Now there's some pins on stopping black from taking back with his e pawn. The game, in my opinion, is still even, but it doesn't give black that little initiative he got. A creative player with black could win this game. Looks to me like if anyone has middle game winning chances, it's black, because he's the one with the kingside attack coming. Where's white's kingside attack? It's not there. White's just playing survival chess here. He's going to still roll with the punches. So can we go back even further and find an improvement for white? Let's see. He castled e5 and he took. So what's the improvement for white? Has black fully equalized this position? Maybe what white should consider is, is castling queenside. Usually we don't see this type of move. But what does this do? This takes away black's kingside attack, stops it stone cold. It's in many variations of the King's Indian defense. White will castle queenside, like the sameish variation. Objectively, black would like to now attack the white king, but his plan focus is changed. You got knight b4, a5 candidate moves. So maybe castling queenside is an interesting try for white here. And this is how opening theory develops and how it developed over the years. And if you're not happy with the way your game turned out, you look for an improvement. You look for something that maybe you think you're comfortable playing. So castling kingside might be walking right into the black strategy. Maybe castling queenside is a good move. There's a lot of questions, and they're all beyond the scope of this video. We can't prove them all. We could write a book about this. We want to discuss topics of interest, try to find what we can about a position. The truth's always there if you spend the time. Some cases the truth takes longer to find, and in some cases you never find the truth. But at this point, what I want to do is I want to incorporate what NFork has said, and this will take a little doing here. I'll do it by copy-pasting the text into the box here. Let's see. That way there's a written record. You don't just have my words. Just bear with me here. I don't think I can post it all at once. There's a limit. Okay, so let's see. So now forget what I said. Let's see what NFork has to say. Okay, it's pasted here. Okay, hopefully it takes it all. Okay. It says all rats kibitzes, but it's not me, it's him. Okay, this was an interesting game because first it started with modern defense that just transposed later into Dutch defense. These kind of sacrifices on kingside with f-pawn are quite typical in some openings, like for example in closed Sicilian done by white. The attacks have possibility to succeed if lines on king, and I guess we didn't get the whole sentence. Let's see. It'll be easy to rectify. One moment. I don't think I need to kibitz. I can just post it. It'll just tell me there's an invalid command or something. Okay, let's see. Yeah, it just comes up in blue. Kingside are enough and open, and if the kingside is open enough, and sacrifice is able to trade important defenders. In the game, light squared bishops could have traded to increase the attack. In this position, knight f4 was on the superior square, dominating the board, harassing the king as well, and it is of course the main reason to sack a pawn. Okay, so we're pretty much in agreement with a lot of things. He's added a few new things. He's told what other kind of openings this comes out of. It does come out of closed Sicilian when white is playing e4 and f4. Okay, so he's telling us this knight is dominating on the f4 square, and we discovered that. Okay, let's see what's his next note here. I'm going to try the kibitz thing again. Well, if it would take, it's not typing it where it's supposed to type it. It's typing it in my Word document. Hang on 1 second. And let's see if it takes all this. If not, we'll get it. Okay. We get up to move 17. So when white came up with b4, okay, he says NFork is saying white has time. Now white has time to get his queen to the king side. Fast attack move would have been bishop h3. Okay, so what does bishop h3 do? It's threatening a piece. If white takes, this knight is checking, and maybe if king a, looks. It looks like a potential move. He didn't give any further analysis, and I don't want to try to reevaluate this. But his objective here is to continue to attack the white king quickly. And notice that the white queen didn't have time to run over to the king side yet. But black has traded off an extra piece. But this is maybe he covers it in his next note. No, I guess he doesn't. See, I didn't want to look at his notes. I didn't want a prejudice to come in, a bias. Okay, so that's an interesting line. Worthy of analysis. How does black continue? The objective is to set this up on a board and start looking at it. Don't turn your computer on. That won't do you any good. You just sit here and you figure it out yourself. It's good. You'll develop a lot of your analytical skills. Okay, kibitz. Let's get the next line. Okay, he's talking about move 22 now. So let's get forward. Okay, his move. Why does it show up? There we go. This is queen e5 instead of this, rook g3 to chase queen h3 away on attacking h3. And for defending the bishop on e6, position would favor white. I did talk about that. I don't remember exactly what I said. It was an alternative to get chase the queen out of there, but I said black still has some activity here. Okay, so I tend to agree with that. It does get rid of the defender of the bishop on e6. You can always rook g3. Seems to force this. Now, it would favor white slightly because he's defended it and he's holding his pawn, and the black initiative is kind of shut down. Black's not infesting as much as he was, but still, this knight is poorly placed. These pawns are potential targets for this bishop. Black in the season open file. Looks Black still has some activity here, but it probably would have been better for White. I will agree with that. Okay, what else does he have here? He has one more note. Okay, let's get there. And apparently this here it is. I'll just enter it with the kibitz. Great tactical move. Yeah, it is. It just seemed to hold everything. You know, as NFork noted, White was able to get his king or queen over to help out on the king side. Black just didn't quite have enough of an initiative going. One of the drawbacks for Black was to get this initiative, Black had to trade some pieces. Even though those were defenders of the White king, potential attackers vanished at the same time. But yes, this is a great tactical move. It seems to make White force a draw. Whoops, going the wrong way. It just worked out fine. And in closing, he just said that he voted this game as game of the week. It was in the under 1800 section, and he says, let me just paste it. I'll read it and then I'll paste it. Under 1800 is game of the week round 1. It was a versatile game. Lots of things happened, and you can learn some things about it. Minke's pawn sacrifice was a good idea, and he found nice attacking moves and was near to taking full point. Slime Dog defended well and also had some chances to win as well. I think with my previous analysis you can see how important it is to try to trade defending pieces even if they're passive, like the bishop on G2. Okay, so that's what he said. Oh, let me get this. Maybe has another comment here. Let me see if I can get all this to paste. There'll be a record on the video, so that you can always pause it and read it all. Let's see. I did it without a kibitz. I shouted it. Oh wow, that's funny. See, it went to a shout to the main channel. I vote Slime Dog and Minke's game from blah blah blah. He also had. We didn't get the whole comment in. You need to increase your word limits, ICC. Please, please, please. We found a use for them. Okay. Slime Dog defended well. Let me find it here. Here it is. Okay. Defended well, and he also... I'll just repeat that part of it. Okay, boom. I also had chances to win as well. I think with my previous analysis, you can see how important it is, blah, blah, blah. I've said all that. And then he makes another comment. The game of the week doesn't have to be a win from some side, and neither does that to be under 2200. People continue nominating on other rounds and different sections of result. I think draws are a bit boring. Maybe I choose some drawn games as game of the week if it looks interesting. Yeah, this certainly was. In essence, Black demonstrated what was wrong with White's opening. His opening choice, E4. He exposed, just at that position, he exposed the potential drawback to pushing E4 here. And further, this move, D takes E5. This was the key position that I'm saying maybe White has to play D5 is the best move, and it's no exact proof that I'm right here, but this is how chess theory is developed. You know, they don't. Somebody sits down with a board and says, "What about this idea?" I think that in Chess Informant, EC Encyclopedia Chess Openings, multilingual, they came up with certain codes to mean things like little codes like better is or with the idea of or needs testing, whatever they codes they come up with, unclear. The person looking at it gives an evaluation. It's up to us to go in there, find those lines, and see what we can come up with. And I've improved on book before, particularly in correspondence chess. An old line of Reuben Fine's given in 1940 he claimed clear advantage for white, and I proved it was clear advantage for black. And back in, when did I prove it? 1990, something like that. Well before the dawn of computers, before they could get up there and analyze. But a lot of times, just because an annotator has a grandmaster name doesn't mean he's going to be perfect. They all make mistakes. But this is a rarely played opening. You don't see this position in grandmaster play repeatedly. Unfortunately, a lot of positions you do see repeated over and over again, and they've already exhausted those and found ways to hold. Here, apparently this, based on this game, unless someone can find some improvements for white, white can't take on e5. And if he does, he can't push e4 because black has the resources here. But anyway, it was my pleasure to do this. I do teach you how to analyze. I think a lot of chess coaches don't teach you how to analyze. And how do you do it? You just sit and start moving the pieces around, look for ideas. And you do not turn a computer on to tell you what the best move is. The saying on that, I'm going to be spreading the word about a little bit. Give you a perfectly good reason not to turn a computer on. It's real simple. Think of when you misplace something. You have to go look for it. Well, eventually you find it, right? Right, okay. Well, when you find it, you always find it in the last place you looked. Why is that so? Well, because you stop looking for it after you find it. If I turn the computer on and get the best move here, I'm going to stop looking. Duh. A lot of people, there is a way to use a computer to help you, but I know people that know that and they still get lazy. Oh, let's just turn it on and see what the best move is. The only way you find out is by analyzing, and when you analyze, you're developing your chess style, whatever it is, tactical, positional, strategical, whatever. By coming up, you're coming up with the moves you see. And just the same thing when you're playing a real game. You're playing the moves you see. If your opponent sees more than you, he beats you. If he's a better player than you, there's a good chance he will because he sees more than you. But if you see more than your opponent, you will beat him, even if he's a better player. So the way you get practice is analyzing positions. And if one move doesn't work, you go try and find another one. And that's what I've done here. It seemed that after White's next three moves, he couldn't do anything. So I tried to find improvements for each one. And, Black's still even on d5, okay? Black is still even if White plays d5, right? But the difference is that it's not exactly clear how Black is even. He doesn't have his play generated. And we could even go, and we even went back one move. White could castle queenside in this position instead of castling kingside. Again, Black is probably even, but he's not close to forcing the draw like he was. Anyway, thank you so much for your time. I look forward to making the round 2 video when it's selected, when the game of the week is selected. Take care. Bye now.